What's up, Rad fam? Welcome back to episode 10 of the Rad DAO podcast. Today, my guest is Coach Matt, who's a wicked futures trader, and we are talking all kinds of things today, including mindset, futures trading, and the importance of a strong work ethic. But before we get there, I'm going to need you to go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that like button, and leave me a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app. Today's episode's a great one. You're not going to want to miss it, so please stay tuned to the end. So with that, let's get into episode 10 of the Rad DAO podcast. Let's go. Matt, man, good to see you. How you been?
Good, man. How you doing?
Oh, life's good, brother. Life's good.
Loving the space. That looks really good.
Really looks like we shopped at the same wall panel supplier.
Yes,
so it's good.
Yes. The plastic liquid nails Tactier wall panel shop.
Yeah, I think mine's PL premiumed onto some 2x2s behind me. So yeah,
that's
we got the
way
same
better
strategy.
than mine.
I wanted it so if I ever wanted to change it, that it wouldn't completely fuck up my wall. So that was the strategy.
Yeah, I think the wall's coming down with mine. So.
Amazing. So, just for the listeners, who are you? Like, what's your background and how did you sort of land in crypto?
So my name's Matt Abchek. I met Rad here through some various Discords, and then we just kind of kept merging smaller and smaller into the refined group that we are now of like 8 or 9 people. That's at a Discord channel. But no, I guess who I am is my name is Matt Abchek. I'm a Olympic weightlifting coach in the United States. I also was in the military, so I have a military background, and I like coach CrossFit. So I've always kind of been like the strength and fitness industry. And then I actually got into investing / crypto when my kid was born is when I kind of formally got into it. I had stocks, which is a great little mini story we could talk about if you want, because I did own a shit ton of NVIDIA and got shafted on it years ago. But let's just say I have a bitter relationship with stocks. But yeah, I mean, more or less I had this job. I love my job. I never want to leave it, but it is not the type of job where I can sit there and chug away. $1,000 went into my son's bank account so I could save for him till I'm 40. And so I'm a person of extremes. I was an airborne infantry guy in the military, stuff like that. So I like high risk, high reward. And I was like, well, I need to make money somewhere. So where can I start doing some light gambling, I guess is what we'll call it. And stocks came into favor, and then get my camera back to focus. Stocks came into favor, and then I did pretty well there. I got in, typical story. Like I hit it right on the mark. Some friends told me about this AMC GME craziness because they're all gamer Reddit degenerates. So I played around there for a while, and then I switched over to crypto. And it's just been learning since then. I'm really big on learning. So that's kind of why I've stuck in it, is because it was like this new frontier for me to learn that everyone you hear growing up is like, oh, he's a stockbroker. He's a trader. And it's like, well, I'm really big on the internet and self-learning. So I kind of fell in love with it. And it's just been kind of more down the rabbit hole as I've gone.
I think there's an element of curiosity that a lot of people in crypto possess. I know it's the reason that I stayed in the space is just there's so much happening and there's so many different avenues. Like the term Web3 is like literally the widest term I can think of, because I didn't want to pigeonhole this podcast into one specific thing. I talk about all aspects of Web3, and it's just constant learning, man. I still don't know everything, and I've been into this for years now, and I know you're the same. But like, what is it? Because I find the more people I talk to, the more sort of high risk personalities are involved in crypto, which I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but also sort of entrepreneurs are sort of flock to this space. And I don't know why that is. Like, what drives you?
I think it's because we're ready to put our fucking heads to the ground and work. Like traditional people that go to their job and like, there's nothing wrong with a traditional career. I have nothing wrong against it. It's not my type. It's just like they're okay sitting there and collecting the 4% over 40 years. and staying at their job. And if they stay in the same position for 6 to 10 years, it's a comfortable thing. They know the money coming in. They know all the numbers. They know what their level of limit is, to what they can spend, what they can't spend, et cetera. And like entrepreneurs are more aggressive in the sense of like, we're ready to fail. A true entrepreneur, because I think COVID kind of exposed some people that thought they were entrepreneurs. But like, we're ready to fail and like whine about it and then get right back into the next thing. And that's, whether you're an inventor, entrepreneur, scientist. Scientists are weird, like real scientists, inventors, because they're not really entrepreneurs. They're a different realm, but they're ready to take those risks to fail 10 to 20 times before they get it right. And that's kind of just how this field goes. You're gonna fail more in crypto than you're gonna do well, and then you start to kind of flip that, I think, into successes as you learn and filter out what is good and bad. I think that's why the entrepreneur space is kind of synonymous with crypto.
I think that's a great point. I'm personally not willing, I'm okay with failing. Like, I just see it as clearly that was my limit for now, and I'm either going to dig in and improve and get further the next time, or that was the wrong opportunity. I'm just going to pivot completely and go. Like, I'm the type of personality where if I stick with something for more than a few weeks, then I'm in. Like, I'm going all the way to the end, right? We're going to find out. But I think a lot of people struggle with the unknown, right? They struggle with, where's my next paycheck coming from? Or they struggle with, I don't know what my income's going to look like in 3 years. And I'm in a traditional career, and it's a little bit scalable in terms of income, but I can't imagine being in a position where I could literally take an Excel spreadsheet and calculate all the money I'm ever going to make in my entire life, and that scares me. I want the scalability and the runway that comes with, making your own opportunity, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And my wife jokes around, and like when we started dating, because she knew me as a coach before, like we started dating, like it was a joke that like my superpower was like I could live literally out of a duffel bag. Like I don't need many things. Like I have a computer, I have my gym. It's kind of where like me dating her started. Like obviously like having a marriage, having a kid now, there's some other things that I like in my life, but like in the Army you just live out of a duffel bag essentially, and like every now and then you get like a nice stint where you're somewhere, but at any moment they can be like, hey, we're going. And so you kind of get used to that. So you don't get attached to a lot of the material things, and like, so it's definitely a lifestyle that as I segued into entrepreneurship, it was very easy. It's not like I came from like, even like a college experience, like you have your apartment throughout college for 3 years. It's like, fuck, I got to get rid of this apartment and move. And this is scary. And it's all like, I was just already in that flow. So it's like, even when it comes off to like money, it's like, all right, I'm going to sell all these stocks and move them into crypto. I'm going to sell all this crypto and move into stocks. Like I'm not stuck, I guess is how I would describe that.
But I mean, you can't be really, or at least you shouldn't be, because I've seen people fall into the trap of lifestyle inflation. As money comes their way, they just spend more money, and then they make more money and they spend more money, and they basically end up net zero at the end. But I'd much rather hold on to sort of my principles of, I'm not a minimalist in the traditional sense of the word, but I generally don't like shit. If there's something I feel like clutter. I need or it's going to be useful, that's it, right? It's, even if you don't see it as clutter, if you're looking around your house and you just are mentally absorbing all of the shit that's lying around, like my kids' stuff drives me nuts, right? Because it's just shit everywhere, right?
I have to clean my son's front room here after this podcast. I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah, and that
is the epicenter of clutter.
But it's about, sort of teaching them about, what they need and what they value. And you can see it, you go hog wild at Christmas, you buy them a bunch of shit, and then they grab one thing, and that's the only thing they play with until the next, gift giving occasion runs around. They don't need all the other stuff, right?
Yeah.
But people, like the when Lambo, it's or whatever cars thing they're chasing. It's it's a backwards motivation. Like that's not going to bring you security or freedom, which is ultimately what I want.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that I came, and you've heard me say it in Discord for years now, technically. It's like my lifestyle is what allows me to dabble in and out, whether I care or not. And I don't FOMO because I've said openly, like, I'm good with the money I make. I'm trying to like make an account for my son and my Acorns account, my M1 Finance, my crypto, like these. Like, don't get me wrong, I might like eventually dip into it to get me and the wife like a trip somewhere, like a family trip. But like, I plan on and I've always planned on this being a 10, 20-year project to where I'm flexible. And I think that's where a lot of people like they get the FOMO, or they get in love with a project, which like I almost did. I almost missed the Luna top because I was so obsessed with Luna, and I sold all my shit at $100, and like I'm so thankful I did. And like
I think Luna was the moment that I sort of saw you transition from someone that was like bought into like the FOMO and the project
I
to
loved
someone
it.
that
The whole concept of it was genius. Like South
but
Korea
when you sold,
was about
you
to
let
do
go.
crazy
Like
shit.
that was
I
like
did.
cutting a cord. Because then after
Yeah.
that, like you never held like that again, right? Like
No, I've never held like that again. I've seen things go up. Like Near was a good example. I think Near is when I really like found my trading feet. This last 6 months is like they were having the Near convention or whatever they call it, like in Portugal or whatever, while the market was kind of doing like this last rocky dump to the bottom. And I was like, man, I bought a bunch of this because I know it was big by the rumor. And I was basically like, all right, I'm gonna just play into sentiment, and that's how I'm gonna start doing this futures trading stuff, is just play into sentiment. And sure as hell, it ran up. It ran up right like the chart said it would. And I was like, oh, but there's so much hype on it. Like, I'm selling. I sold, tripled the money I put into it, made like 3K off it, and then I stepped away. I was like, all right, cool. Near, I'll buy you when you're back at 30 cents. I have no interest in you at $1.20. And it's like, that's learning, like you just said, like to cut the cord and not fall in love with it. And like, it's NFTs are the same thing. You get like, and it's almost scary. Like the communities around the coins, they are very cultish. So they're very easy to fall into that pitfall of like falling in love with your coin.
You're literally almost better leaving that Telegram group and just looking at it purely from a dollar's perspective if you're trying to get out, because you get attached, right? It's not just about the investment, it's about the people that you're used to going in and saying good morning to and all of that stuff, and like everyone. And then you get a wave of new people that are like X coin to $1, and you start doing the math on the market cap and what that's going to work out. You're like, there's no fucking way, right?
I say that shit all the time. I'm like, do you realize how much it would cost to make that be $30 a coin? Like, we'd have to take a third of Bitcoin's market cap for that to happen, because there's 7 trillion coins. And people don't like, I hate the sound in these discords like the disgruntled old man, but like, I mean, I was that new kid on the block 3 years ago, where I was like, everything's gonna go to 1 million. It's like, now I've been in it. I've had mentors. I've had a lot of good people. You've known a few of them to teach me things. I've brought in other people into our Discord that I think are really important, smart, intelligent players. And I just, like, when I was in the Army, and when I had my coaches and mentors in training, like, my dad taught me a lot of good things, but one of the biggest things he taught me is like, you shut the fuck up when you're around experienced people, and you just listen. You ask questions and you listen, and you ask enough questions to where you're like to the point of annoying them, and then back off. And I've done it with you, like when you've invited me into groups and stuff like that. I've prodded around questions, been like, hey, I know I'm being annoying, but I have a question. But it's like, that's how you learn, and that's how you don't get caught up in all the FOMO.
Well, it's good advice too, because you might see somebody in one of these groups and you think that they're an expert, or you think that they've done all this before, and the reason they're making this recommendation is because they truly believe in it, and then it might come to light later down the road that you were exit liquidity, right? They were dumping on you the whole time. So it's really tough to know. And I think we've talked a lot about on my show in general about the need for community, and that's more around community around a specific project. But I think it's important to also sort of find your tribe of people that are going to sort of keep you in check, to make sure that you're not going through this FOMO wave and that you're actually taking profit along the way. Because ultimately, what's the point if you're not, right? You're just going to watch money go up in your wallet, and then you're going to watch it disappear just as quickly.
Yeah, and it's on that tribe aspect. So like I recently, and I think I was just getting into Discord when I made the gym split, and I like basically split my gym. I was a 130 person gym. I had 6 coaches. Like, it was right in the heat of COVID, and I was like, I'm done. I can't do it. It's bad people, not my type of people I want to coach. There's mean people in the gym. Like, I was over. I didn't want to go into my own business. And then what I did is I went to, in the military, it's platoon size mentality, and there's a lot of research papers. The sizes of military units are the size they are for a reason, not just because somebody threw a coin on the ground or a set of dice and was like, all right, 63 people. That's how big a company is. Like, there's a lot of science and psychology that went into the U.S. government military side to figure out what are our ideal unit sizes to where we're cohesive and flexible at the same time. And that's why if you look around at every other military, they're mirroring us. We are, to date, the most successful military, unless you want to like debate with the Romans, but I can't really do that. So
it's not Canada, that's for sure.
Yeah, they mimic our size. Well, the Canadian military does too. The Chinese military does. Like,
oh, I mean, we're mimicking you. Yeah, for sure.
Like when it comes to unit sizes, you have battalion size, division size, company, brigade, squad, platoon, all these different elements. They are sized to a certain degree. And to carry on to what we were just talking about, that small tribe versus a big group, is like I had basically grown my gym into what is regarded to as like a company. It was basically a bunch of units within the gym. You had, I'm not going to use name, but you have like Coach A's athletes, you have Coach B's athletes. It was no different. I had basically grown it to where it's like, we were Alpha Company, but we were first platoon, second platoon, third platoon, fourth platoon. We worked cohesively, but like, man, there was times where like second platoon hated first platoon, and that's what it was like in the Army. And that's fine for the Army because like we have a contract, we can't just up and leave. You can't fight anyone, shit like that. But that's what the gym had grown into, and that's really what a big Discord group is for a successful cryptocurrency or financial avenue. Is you'll see pockets of friends that chat on different channels, but like that's what the gym had grown into. Is unhealthy, so I was like, we're done. So I split and I went down to literally a 50 size person gym with 2 coaches. And if you look at it, it's literally a company commander and a command sergeant major or a first sergeant, and then you have everyone under that, and you get your alphas, you get your people that are knowledgeable, and then people under them, so you get like kind of your squad leaders. What we have in our Discord is pretty much a squad. We have our 8 to 10 group size element with people with their specialties, but like we're very tight knit, like you were just talking about, to kind of like comfortably call each other on the bullshit and be like, yo, I think you need to get out of that, or hey, I think this is a good time to buy. And there's an interpersonal relationship versus like the big Discord, like you were saying, like you come into your Discord, everyone says GM, 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 but it's not really like, they'll fuck you over instantaneously if they have to.
Well, like that's the problem, right? There's so many people that bought at so many different points within that group that you're not dealing with the same people. Like some of them are going to be at 5 to 10x already while you're just getting into the project, right? Exactly. And it's hard to look at them as your friend because ultimately, in maybe a couple more x's, they're getting out and you're still buying, right? So yeah, their risk is much lower than your risk. So there's often those whale groups that the Gen Pop can't see but they're all having their own conversation and strategizing. But you almost get shamed for selling. It's like but. Why are you invested in the project if you're not eventually going to sell it, right? It doesn't make any sense.
Nobody's ever gone broke taking profits, and that was one thing Duder talked to me about because he was like one of my first mentors. I don't know if you've ever talked about him.
Not yet.
But like he's a good dude. He taught me a lot, and like he just hammered that in. Even when like my first like $500 was at like $80 profit, he was like, dude, that's almost 20% profit. Like, how are you going to feel tomorrow if it's not there? And I'm like an idiot. He's like, then make money.
Fine.
And if you still want to leave some in there, then leave some in. Sell 70% of it.
And like we get so used to the outside gains and losses and the volatility in general that you just never refer back to what a stock will do, right? And to see a 10% gain in a year is a major success in the stock market, right?
Exactly. Like, yeah, we're so addicted to double-digit wins.
People will they'll hold like a 50x long open to get 300% instead of taking the 90 that's sitting on the table right now. It's like, fuck, you almost doubled your money. Just fucking close it, right?
Yeah. I think that's honestly, and you remember when I went to that strategy, like $100 a day. If I make a futures trade and I'm at $100 and I'm kind of unsure on the market, I'm out. I take that hundy, set it aside, and I re-enter when I feel better about it.
Well, and trading is different from investing, right? Like people need to really divorce themselves from their emotions when they're trading because realistically they should just be in it to get their quick money and get out. Like you shouldn't be holding long-term trades open for a long period of time, but people sort of mix the two, or then they get caught in a bad trade and all of a sudden now they're an investor in the project, right? Because
you don't want to be an investor in futures trading.
Oh no, futures, you're going to get wrecked for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think you nailed it on the head by saying they're not the same thing. And a lot of people take them. That's why everyone's bad at futures trading, because they usually come from spot or stock trading.
Yeah, and it's hard to trade spot because if you're okay with what you're trading, like in terms of holding that bag, you're less inclined to set a stop loss because you're like, it'll go back up eventually. But then your capital's just sitting there locked up and you can't make any other trades. So, it's not a good strategy. I mean, you have to have rules, you have to be disciplined, and you have to, make sure that your emotions are checked at the door when you come into this game. Because otherwise, the first time you lose money, it's going to just crush you and you're going to disappear, which is, I think, what happened to a lot of people over the last 18 months. They were afraid of failure, or they'd never experienced failure before. They came in, they lost money, and they're like, well, I've had a good run, but I'm out, right? But I think given your military background, obviously they teach discipline, they teach hard work. Carried that through to your entrepreneur career, grinding to make that happen, building that up, and then even recognizing when it got a little bit too big and paring it down, which I think is atypical. But then you just applied it to your trading, right?
making that call is scary as fuck. So
because you're knowingly giving up money, I would imagine, right?
Well, it's like money, community, friends, reputation. Like I knew all that shit was going to be dicey. But at the end of the day, it's like, and it even again relates to trading. It's like I always tell everyone that I mentor any of my guys in the military. I've had a conversation with my wife. It's like at the end of the day, I put my head on the pillow and I have to think about like what I did that day. Was I a good human? Did I make the right choices? Would so and so be proud of me? Stuff like that. And that's the only thing. Even if you are married and sleeping next to someone, like it's still your brain and your pillow, and that's how you close out every day of your life. So run that through your head, like. If you're not happy about something, well, the next day when you wake up, that's your opportunity to make a difference and not make that same mistake again. And like, you're going to make mistakes, but it's really, that's your learning time at the end of the day to kind of do like what we call in the military, like an after action report on what went well today, what went poor. Am I good about this? Do I need to change this tomorrow? Do I need to not make this mistake? And that's where I think like that military discipline is come in. Cause it's like, the military makes everything all hype and like more extreme than it needs to be, right? Like you fuck this up, you die. And as a weightlifting coach, I always joke with my athletes that it's like the one thing I can't bestow and like is one of my faults as a coach is like I don't do well helping them with like the I guess we'll call it like the mental confidence to attack heavy lifts when they start getting scared of them. And we call it in the military, we call it in the weightlifting. We call it clarking, and it's when you pull the lift and then like you don't complete it. So you like pull it up your thigh maybe, and you're like, no, I can't do it. And you just drop it. You don't even attempt the snatch or the clean and jerk. And I've never done that in my life, my whole career training. I've never done that because like I think it's just so drilled into me, commit, that it's just like everything will be fine. Just trust yourself. It's almost like a dumb blind confidence. And trading wise, I had to like not go with it. I had to actually untrain myself a little bit to be like, no, I'm good. I'll be good. And then I am good. It's like, I just lost $500. Fuck. So I've had to kind of like scale back on that a little bit.
You said something interesting about the after action report. And a few weeks ago, I talked to a guy named Andrew Kapoor who he came at it more from a meditative reflection point. But it's interesting because the military is teaching it as sort of like a tactical checklist, so to speak, but they're the same thing, right? Like taking quiet time to sort of reflect on, what action you did or what happened, and then sort of checking yourself and saying, okay, was yesterday what I want tomorrow to be? Yes or no? If it's no, what about yesterday wasn't great that I want to fix tomorrow? And I think, this is going to be January, right? People are in the middle of giving up on their New Year's resolutions right now. And I think people, you got to take accountability for yourself, right? Like it's a matter of like really just changing something. And it doesn't have to be a radical shift. Like it could be literally anything, a small thing. Like tomorrow I am going to do 5 push-ups, or, tomorrow I am going to lift a bar, like not even with a weight on it, right? But you're going to commit. And then just repetition, momentum. And then it builds up over time until all of a sudden you're an elite Olympic weightlifting athlete, or you're a top tier soldier, or you're an excellent day trader. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just a matter of you sort of figuring out where you are, what's not working, and then adjusting and moving forward. Like there's no shame in making a change. I think people get stuck, right? It's just,
yeah, they are one style. They don't want to adjust. Well, change is scary too. Human beings have the honor of being the most adaptive creature on the planet besides the cockroach. And then we don't even use our adaptability like to our advantage. It's asinine, to be honest. We get such stuck in comfort that the thing that's literally gotten us here we don't utilize.
Well, it's like I've been in trades where I'm long, for example, I'm 10x BTC long, and in an instant I'm like, nope, fuck that, I'm going short. Like, so my thesis is immediately changed and I've reacted and adjusted, but people will get their hypothesis and be like, no, I'm definitely right about this one. Meanwhile, there's 10 other things that have changed that they're unaware of that's sending it the other direction, right?
Yep. And that's the thing, is like that adaptability needs to be trained as well. Because we were just talking about like the example you gave of like doing 5 push-ups a day. Like the compounding is hugely important, and a lot of things that we do as humans to make us better at what we do. Like you can literally put compounding experience into every aspect. You can put it into the dating world. Like guess what? You're probably not just going to date one person and then be really good at relationships. And you can look at it money, putting $5 in your piggy bank every 2 days. Like it builds. And trading experience, if I had to like honestly give any piece of advice, you hate this whole fucking interview with me, but you want some sort of tip, is like practice trading with small amounts, learning the charts, and make that compound on top of itself. And it's like whether it's futures trading or spot trading, learn they're 2 different things, but start small. See if you do well, see if you make successes, and you'll find your groove to where your $20 turns into $21. Okay, sell your $21. Good, you made money. Move your $21 into Cardano. If Cardano's looking like you think it'll go up and it goes from $21 to $23 because it went up 24% or whatever, you had a good time, then move that over and make that $24 into like $36. And it's like everyone, like you were saying, just wants to go like, oh, I put $500 into Solana, I got to make $1,500, then I'll sell it. It's like, dude, you're going to be sitting there and either lose your ass, or you're going to end up sitting there for a year and a half, just bored and angry. And like futures trading is where I really, and I like in our channel, I was working with the viewers, we can, she's known as Domestic in our channel, but like teaching her how to do futures, I was really adamant about like, okay, put your $20 in the trade. Don't put your $100 in the trade, put your $20 in the trade. And once you've made $5, sell it, move that $5 over to where you don't touch it, and restart the process with $20 again. And a lot of people do that, and you've seen it. Like people just like, no, I'm going to take that $25 now, and they get all, they're compounding in the sense of like, take my amount, make it bigger. It's like, no, fuck that. You made successful trade, compound your stockpile. Make your stockpile compound. Just keep trading with the same goddamn amount. Like I literally don't trade with anything bigger over 250 right now. But
that's
and you
probably smart.
You knew me when I was sitting there doing it at $1,000 and silly shit like that. But like 250, and I can make $100, and I move that $100 over, and then I restart the process when I think the chart looks good.
Well, and people they forget that $100 in a day is most people's job, right? Like they're earning,
I'm
you're
a
earning an
personal
income.
trainer.
Yeah,
I'm a personal trainer. I charge $85 an hour for like intent one-on-one sessions. Like if I can just make it while I'm working, that's fucking clutch. And yeah, like you said, $100 a day, that's like 3/4 of some people's daily income.
Yeah. But people got to remember that the discipline and that the tactics used to trade $20 is exactly the same as trading $20,000, is exactly the same as trading $200,000. It's just a matter of proportion of your overall portfolio. And like someone might be like, oh, fuck, I made $3 on a $20 trade. Why would I bother closing that? It's not worth it. It's like, that's a solid trade. Close it and figure out what the next play is, right? But I think people also they struggle with not being in a trade once they're a trader, right? They have no patience. And I was guilty of this myself too. Like
I was too. It took me a while to get out of that.
You know what? You're always looking for the next one, right? Because you sort of get addicted to the high of being right. I think what it ultimately comes down to.
You're looking for the next fix.
Yeah. But realistically, like, you got to sort of understand your time horizon. It's like, are you an hourly chart trader? Are you a 4-hour chart trader? Are you a daily trader? Or are you really like a weekly trader? Because you can be successful at any time frame. You have to make sure that you're clear on what your strategy is going in, so that you don't get caught up in this FOMO wave. Like, there's always going to be another trade, no matter what. Like, coins are going to go up and they're going to go down. So there's really no risk to you getting in and out of something if it feels uncomfortable, even at a slight loss.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, and I've actually, you've kind of seen me delving into both worlds. Like, I've been doing the spot thing, I've been doing the futures thing, and I'm like on or off to one, or I'm rarely doing both. But I've gotten a lot of education in reading charts when it comes to that type of stuff. But like stepping back to what we were talking about in the beginning about the thing that's so exciting about crypto and about like the big wins and stuff like that is, I think one of the aspects that people get into this is they hear the stories, right? They hear the stories and then they read the stories, and then their phones going off with Twitters and stuff like that. And that gets people like just so stuck in like, well, it happened to Tom J from fucking Jersey, so why can't it happen to me? And they just toss shit. And it's like, it's not going to happen that way. And I always compare this is the internet boom for our generation. My dad was like typical anti stock market. Saw a bunch of his friends get put on their ass when it comes to stocks in the internet blow up phase, the tech bubble. And he's like, all my friends, they got fucked. Be careful. You're gonna get screwed over. Don't buy stock. It's just a trick. It's a Ponzi, blah blah. And it's like, okay, there's so many things that have changed since then. First of all, like the fact that I don't have to call my broker and be like, I'd like you to sell, and he's actually taking my call between 80 other calls. Meanwhile, the market's on its ass, and the technology has developed so much to where I can sit there. I can watch a live ticker and make my own decision. Versus back then in the 90s, it was like there was no live ticker unless you worked at some place that was on the floor. The internet wasn't making everything super accessible. So like people now can sit there and take advantage of the next tech boom. And even if this isn't like the next tech boom, and let's say the next tech boom is actually like nano, right? It's nanotechnology and it's making our skin great and our health better. And like, I'll fucking be there riding that train too. But like, I didn't want to do what my dad did and like sit there and miss out. I'd rather lose $5,000. And like 20 years from now, my son Oaks is like, when crypto was coming up, were you like doing it? And I was like, son, let me tell you, I was a degenerate. Like your mom wanted to divorce me. I was so obsessed with it at some points. But like my dad's just like, no, I didn't fuck with it. And like, did your friends make money? He's like, yeah, but some of them also got broke and, hurt really bad. And it's like, okay, well, I'm high risk, high reward. So I'm going to be invested. I'm going to be interested in it. But it is like, like we said, you've got to be on top of it. You can't just set and forget. Even with shit like BTC and ETH, the big dogs, like it takes one or two things and they're down fucking 12%. And so like we have the means to self-make our worth. We have the technology to be in and out right away. We have the technology to get news updates immediately. These are all things that like, it's no different than like being in the military and having a fucking UAV looking over the battle cities. Like if I had the choice between having UAV above me telling me, hey, there's 3 dudes in one house, the road doesn't look safe, take the side path, why would you not utilize that? So I don't understand people that just like buy and leave it for fucking 5 years and just watch it go to zero. Like you have all the capability to do well.
I think it's challenging because a lot of people aren't interested in the technology or interested in really the project at all. They're interested in the story. They're interested in guy from New Jersey there that, makes it big overnight. And I think the challenge is that people forget that when they're reading or watching that story on Fox News of him getting interviewed in front of his Lambo, it's too late, because that was the guy that was buying right now and setting up, his investments for what will come. So that's sort of when he gets interviewed on Fox News, that's generally a sell signal because that, and I think we saw that, right? And sort of, this is something I learned in the last bull was that, the amazingness that FOMO can bring into the market, right? So I was anti-Doge. I was a Doge hater. And I was like, there's no effing way that Doge is going to $1. But the people wanted it. They wanted it real bad, right?
Well, the right demographic came into it. It was fucking college kids during COVID that they had money coming out their ass between student loans and fucking stimulus checks and everything. Like, we flooded it. And I'm bitter about Doge because when I first got into crypto, right at the start of COVID, when my kid was born, I was fucking around my friends who were in crypto, and they didn't talk about it. They were just doing it on the side, so I didn't know they were interested back in 2018. And I was like, I think I'm gonna buy like $200 a Doge. And it was like fractional cents back then. And my friend is like, I trust. He's like a big brother to me. He's just like, don't fucking buy that, dude. It's a meme coin. Don't buy it. And I didn't. And like, now I just fuck with him. I'm like, hey, remember when you told me not to buy it at fucking a fraction of a fucking penny? And it got up to 31 goddamn cents.
I think it was 76 at the top.
Yeah, just as an example. It's just like, man, and that's where, again, we backtrack on the conversation. It's like, make your own fucking decisions.
Yeah. You got to take personal accountability, right?
Yeah.
If you're the person that's kind of easily influenced by others, and like, I'm not shilling anything here, you're not shilling anything here, that's not the point of this. The point is to sort of get a mindset going about how you approach investing, how you do your research, and how you figure out kind of what you want to latch onto for the long term, or if you want to hop in and out. But you got to take responsibility for yourself, because you're just going to get wrecked otherwise, or you're going to miss an opportunity that you're like, I knew it in my gut, right? Like, there was something there that I saw that was like, I think this is going to go. And then I hesitated because my grandma said crypto was stupid, so you got to roll with it.
And that's even when you miss trades, that, and this is something I've learned in futures trading, is like, even when you miss trades, like, don't be upset about it. People like get bitter that they miss trades. Or like, I'll set like, a good example is the other day I set a BTC long to get picked up at 2,800, and it didn't go down to where I thought it was going to go down. It went down some, but it didn't go deep enough to where I wanted. And then what I used to do is I'd FOMO in at like 21,135 and like, oh, I can still get in. And then it fucking dumped again. And it's just like, so if I didn't get it, I didn't get it. Just wait till the next setup and set your levels, because it's better to hit what you had planned because you're following a plan than just FOMOing into the trade in and out. And like every now and then I'll do that if I see like a big shift in the market. I'll ride a high, but like we were talking about, that's where it's like, okay, I'm in for an hour and then I'm out. Like no matter what happens, an hour from now, I'm out.
No, those are those momentum waves. But when you're actually trying to catch like a reversal or some sort of change in price action, then definitely stick with the plan, because you're just going to get wrecked. And you might not. You might get lucky, but the problem is you don't know if you got lucky, right? Exactly. It's like, did I get lucky or was I right? And it's trying to figure out between the two.
You've been seeing me fuck around with like fair value gap stuff, a hardcore, and like the ICT method, like the inner concept theories, like that method. I've never felt more. I guess we could go with like convinced or confident, whatever you want to do. Like, right. In my trading calls since I've learned that methodology.
So this is probably a new concept for our audience. Would you mind kind of going into it?
Yeah. So basically the concept is, it's not made by me, dear God, don't ever think that. But it's basically they use concepts of fair value gaps where there's gigantic impulse waves up or down in the market. And when you look at the candles on the larger time frames from like an hour and above, you start to recognize gaps between the candles. So we'll just like kind of use fingers for the example. It's like, here's a candle, and then another one's here, and then the next one's down here. This area, because there's no wick on top of it, is considered now a fair value gap. It's basically the market has shifted quickly and left liquidity on the table. We all know, or we've all been there, we're like, okay, I'm going to buy Solana at $40. And then it literally you set the buy and it runs so fast that it can skip over your buy. And that's how it's so fast. Or people have alerts set. This is usually what happens. People have alerts set to buy it at 40. By the time their email comes through from TradingView that it's at 40, it's already at 41. And they're not interested in buying it at 41. So they're like, I'll wait for it to backtrack. And then it just keeps going. And then people are like, well, I'm not fucking buying that at $46. Hell no, I'll wait. So there's this fair value gap. That's basically what the market has assessed. This is what's fair pricing. And this camera does not like the lighting.
That's all good, man.
But basically, this fair value gap's created, and the behind the scenes, if you like, and this is where we can kind of get into the hoobly boobly stuff, is like market makers are manipulating the market. And this is the concept that I love out of this, is because, yeah, right, don't be surprised here, guys. I know that I was trading like retail, and retail is the normals. Those are the people you tell at Thanksgiving about crypto, and then they go buy it because John told them to. Me and Rad, we're in this like intermediary group where like we're learning, we're understanding market concepts, we're understanding how money actually flows through the machine, we're understanding how DeFi works, and looking at what projects are doing what with what currencies and the technology involved. And then you have the third tier above us, which is the market makers and the people that own the exchanges, the CZs of the world. So you have these three tiers, and a lot of people, I'd say like 90% trade like retail. They see something low, they buy it. And that's as far as the story goes. They see something high, they sell it. They're not looking for an actual creative entry to where they're going to pump profit. And basically the market makers, they make money. So CZ makes money at Binance when your trades have a trading fee associated to them. So, Coinbase is another example. We all know, like, Coinbase, they make money on you guys just buying shit or selling it or transferring it. Like the gas fee, the user fee, the custody fee, every fucking fee. That's where they actually make their money. They're not making money on Bitcoin. They're making money on you and your microtransactions, no different than the credit card companies do every time you pay a 1% fee to the small business you bought product at to utilize the credit card. Exchanges work the same way. So like CZ at Binance makes money like that. He also makes money on futures trading when two variances. You pay a small fee, or if you're at Kucoin, you get fucking slammed.
Oh my God, Kucoin.
I won't shill anything, but man, were the fucking blinders taken off when I left Kucoin. And I was realizing like I would make a trade, make $100, and 14 of it was taken out of it. But like CZ also makes money and market makers money on when you get liquidated, because all of that money goes to the company. And that is how market makers move. They're going to move the market in the direction where the liquidity is available. So if they go up because a lot of people want to buy, they're going to do it rapidly and violently to kill shorters. If the money available looks like it's at the bottom at the order books, they're going to go down rapidly, or they're going to go up to trick people to buy in because of FOMO and then manipulate. So these fair value gaps, the market makers know there's money left on the table in that area. So they're going to move the market to that fair value gap to allow people to buy in, like chumming the water, and then make the violent direction based on where the liquidity is. And that's kind of like a rough synopsis, if you will, of like the fair value gap concept.
Yeah, and you were the one that introduced me to the concept, and it's proven to be a powerful tool. And obviously, no single indicator on TA will get you there. But I think that you just got to remember that you're basically charting human emotion. You're charting, like, as much as there's liquidity up here, liquidity down there, it's either FOMO or it's FOMO in the other direction, right? So What you're looking in your finger example here, on an uptrend market, it's basically like a candy cane. Like, you're going to shoot up and then you're going to curl over and come back down to sort of tap into that central point between those two candles. And then it's the opposite. It's like a J cup on the way down. But that doesn't give you indication of where the market's headed longer term. So kind of going back to our time frame question, it could go up and then it could come down, and then realistically it could continue down, but it is probably going to have some sort of price action in that middle gap there. So if you're looking for an entry, it's often a good point. If you're looking for an exit, it's often better to wait and come and get closer to, if you're trying to get out of a trade, for example, it's usually not best case scenario to FOMO out of a trade at the very bottom. Instead, wait for that bounce back up or, bounce back down wherever, if you're longing or shorting, and try and get yourself, some capital preservation there. But I think this is
me a ton on that. Because I used to just get scared and get out of trades. And then now you can watch, if you're like in a bad short, you can watch it going up and know that there's that fair value gap down there. And you're just like, just be patient, wait it out. And it's like, okay, I'm definitely going to take a 10% loss than a fucking 30% loss.
It's like I saw that, that meme of that guy on the podium, like with the champagne in third place there. It's like,
in 14th place.
Yeah, it's like the guy, gets the trade for 20%. The guy gets the trade for 10%. He gets out at break even after 3 stressful hours,
Dude, 3 stressful hours. How many times have we been in trades where it's like fucking going on day 4?
Oh,
it's like you're writing your own like island castaway fucking movie. You just stuck. Like, I mean,
but you just got to remind yourself, it's just money, right? It's just money. And provided that you followed your rules and you've been disciplined, you shouldn't be all in on that trade. And you should live to see another day. What I learned about commodity markets in general, outside of crypto, is like you can get into a limit locked up or down situation for days on end. I can't imagine being long or short with that running against me when everyone's trying to get out. Like, it's no better or worse than any other financial market. It's all just risk, right? So you got to just make sure that you're doing as much, sort of investigation into what, market trends and structure and doing your TA. And I know that some people think TA is, a bag of shit and it's all just like, crystal ball action.
My friends are very much TA's bullshit, yada yada. I'm like, and that's why I like the fair value gap concept. Is like you can literally click the replay button on TradingView and watch it, and you're just like, all right, that's kind of fucking scary how it follows that shit. So it's better guessing. Like we do a lot of guessing and tactical guessing in the infantry. A lot of shit changes on the fly, but I'd rather do it with a compass that kind of works than no compass at all.
Well, you're making the best decision possible with incomplete information, right? Because you're never going to have a complete view into what's going on in the market. So it's about arming yourself with as many tools as possible to make that decision, and then also figure out where you're going to get out of it. Because if you're just buying and hoping, buy and hope is not a strategy, right? That's hopium. That's that's going to get you hurt. It might get you rich, but again, that's just dumb luck. Realistically, is what it is. So, part of the ongoing hope of this podcast is sort of educate people on everything about the space, but I'm not a smart enough trader to sort of educate people in all aspects of that. So if there are some helpful links that you've run across in terms of YouTube videos or podcasts about this, I'll make sure to include them in the show notes below. Free plug for whoever put that content out. But people need to educate themselves, because I guarantee there's like 10 things that they didn't know existed and that they might incorporate into their toolbox when they're analyzing a market or a trend or whatever. So I appreciate you sharing that one with us.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like searching for your own people to kind of follow or learn from, is like, I mean, you've heard of me like just reaching out to random people, and I'm like, I really like this guy, and like I talk to him. Like, I've done that my whole career, like in sports training. I'll reach out to coaches I really want to talk to and stuff, and just put myself out there to be like, can you teach me like blank? And in the crypto space, I've done that too, and I've gotten really lucky with people that wanted to actually work with me. But like, if you're learning or trying to learn how to trade, it's like, and you like somebody that's on social media or Twitter or something like that, is like, watch how they trade. Don't do the trading yourself. Let them fucking spend their money. Watch their trades. Keep a tally book next to you. Like, I have a little whiteboard sheet here that has a bunch of NFTs listed on it that are all now worthless, but that's a game.
You've always got the art.
Yeah, have a note. Oakley has the art. He didn't know that he wanted 32 sharks. But they're cool as shit. But they have a note card and just kind of keep a track. Like, were you good? Were you bad? Did you make a successful trade? If my influencer or the person I'm following did have a bad trade, are they good enough to sit there and bring it up when they had a bad trade? And like, I follow one guy named Kingpin that I absolutely love because he will sit there and fucking dog himself and be like, listen, I thought it was going this direction. I was looking at this. And now that I'm sitting there looking back, I'm taking 3 days off from the market so I can reanalyze and come in with a fresh viewpoint because I was too opinionated and that fucked me up. And then when he sets his trades, he doesn't just sit there and he's like, yo, Solana, 48.60. It's like, no, Solana, we're going to go down and then I'm going to try to enter here because it's hitting this fair value gap. And we're going to run it to here at TP1. And I'm probably just going to sit in it for TP1 and get out. I'm not going to sit here and moonboy it. And he's like, traders like that, I've really grown accustomed to finding. They don't shill anything. They don't sit there and ask you to buy packages, stuff like that. Another type of trader I've really grown accustomed to, is this guy named Crypto Bakery, and like, he is notorious for like little trades, and in an unsure market like we're in right now, he's spot on, and he's not afraid to sit there and be like, hey, I'm putting $50 on a 50x trade. But like, he just did like a trade on sand. He's like, and I don't know what sand's trade like price is right now, but I think like as an example, it's like, 123 to 127. Like, we're literally shooting that gap, put your trade in now, 50x, and then $50 is the risk, super small, but 50x, and he like nails those trades. So he almost isn't like attracting people with these big like long ass green dildos to the moon. He's attracting people with accuracy, and he has a hit rate of like 15 out of 17 trades, and you can't argue with that. It's money, it's profit, and ultimately, like we said earlier, you're not going to go broke making money.
I'm going to have to check that guy out because scalping's always been my jam. I don't like sleeping on trades. I'd rather get in and get out as fast as possible. So
he's really good at it. I'll definitely share him. But that's what you got to look for. There's too much of this like Moon Carl, BitBoy type shit where like those guys are entertaining. Don't get me wrong. I watched like banter religiously when I first got into crypto because they were fucking funny, and like they had some good trades, but they're also a business. Crypto banter, those big YouTube channels, they are a business. Yep. Their job is to make money, so don't ever forget that about those guys.
For sure. And I think anyone selling a product is ultimately in business to make money for them. So you kind of got to ask yourself, like, you see, it's a big thing in DeFi right now with these trading bots, these robots that are going to obviously beat the market 100% of the time. And it's like, okay, if these people were smart enough to develop a bot that could out-trade everybody else in the market, why would they share it with you? Why wouldn't they just get giga fucking rich and disappear, right? Yep. So you got to ask yourself those questions before you go into some of these platforms. Yeah,
Discord channels too. I always sit there and like, that's like, okay, you're going to charge me $30 a month, but you claim that you're making 300x trades. Why the fuck do you need my money?
Yep. I think maybe a little bit of it is ego, maybe a little bit, but at the same time, something might not add up there.
Well, and then if you get in their channel and you watch, they're calling like 5 trades in a day. It's like, you don't have that much money. You can't enter in 5 trades all at the same time and manage them all if you are actually trading intelligently like you tell us to and not get in that many trades. So that's a big tell. And like, so the Crypto Bakery guy, like, he has a one-time fee, but like his fee is what I loved about it. He's like, it's this much, but it's forever. I was like, I like that because that's fair. I'm paying for your intelligence, and then you're welcoming me to the community. And like, so long as you keep doing this, I'm going to keep being able to trade. I can get in and out. Because that's the other thing. Like, I have recently started taking, and I know you told me to do this a fucking year ago, but like taking a week off and just like not being in a fucking trade for a week. Like, now I can come back and guess what? My trade is right there when he makes it. It's available. I don't even have to talk in the Discord. The trade is right there, and I hop the fuck out when I make my money.
Yeah, I think...
Not a bad model.
It's not a bad model at all, but taking a break is extremely important because people get sucked in, and then their mental health starts to suffer. And I think it's...
Yeah.
You got to strike a balance, right? Especially, guys like us who got families, we can't be on these things 24/7. So that's part of the allure for scalping for me was just the time involved. Like I didn't want to have to think about these things or constantly check on them. Like I'd rather just dedicate a couple hours a day to like, okay, here's the setup, I'm going to go in or I'm not. And then that was the time for that day that I had to do that. So I'm curious though, you know, we're kind of coming up on our time here, but what do you do for balance? Like you run your own business, you're trading, you've got a family, like how the fuck do you find the time for anything else, man?
Honestly, like, it's one of the aspects I've been working on, like, literally the last 2 months of my life. I've been pretty open, like, talking to people about it. Like, I got to a point to where it was like, and I'll openly talk about, like, me and my wife, she was really annoyed with me because I was always staring at fucking charts. My phone was always going off, alerts, shit like that. And, like, I finally recognized, like, I was at work and I'm supposed to be watching athletes and I, like, was checking my phone. It's like, dude, you're a shit coach right now. Like, you'd be fucking pissed. And, like, that was kind of, like, a big self-realization thing. I was like, all right, I gotta fucking stop. So like now I think you might even remember, like I started being more attracted to like the time frame where like it was the London kill zone, as we refer to it, when the London market's just about to start and the Asian market is closing out. So it's ironically at night when I'm also gaming with my friends. So I actually do more trades during those times because I'm already at my computer. My family's actually already asleep, and I'm fucking off on my computer gaming with my friends. So if I don't want to game and I want to stare at charts, I'm in the zone. I like trading anyways. And you start to learn, and this is where like the ICT stuff comes in. It's like there's habits. Habits happen between markets, and they have patterns. So you can actually learn to play the patterns, and you can get good in like your time zone. No different than like people play the New York Stock Exchange pre-market to open. The rhythm is kind of the same. So like I found my balance by kind of like just not doing it till nothing else was going on. And that way, like, okay, if I don't want to game and I want to just sit upstairs with my wife and watch TV and hang out with her, it's just, you know, whatever. That's fine. It's no different than not playing video games at night. So that helped me get away. And then like I've started training again, which like has helped me just kind of like stress wise. Just, you know, dedicating that hour to myself, because I'm a guy that's always going to be involved in something. Like I just like doing shit and learning. That's what I find so amazing about crypto in general. It's just there's, like we were saying in the beginning, like there's so much shit going on. There's so much learning going on, so much tech. And like I learn in weightlifting, and that's fun and exciting. But like it's hard for me to learn in weightlifting right now, just because like I have to reach out extensively to people that are more experienced than me, and their time is also very limited. So, or I'm like sitting there reading a book or trying to do stuff like that. Whereas this stuff is like every day I can open up something new and learn something new.
Would you say, and I'll say this is true for me, that I've got an addictive personality. I'm either all in on something or all out. I just try to channel that in healthy pursuits.
Yeah. No
so
way,
I'm glad to hear you're training, because actually back on episode 2, my guest said he was doing a 1,000-day weightlifting challenge. And I was like, yeah, fuck, are you nuts? And I was like, is he nuts? Should I do this? Am I nuts? I was like, oh, fuck it, let's go. So I started that day.
Like I can't even count to 1,000.
Hey, I started that day, and today's day 44, and I've already hit. Yeah, it's my lift weights, eat steak, Sean Baker merch. It's definitely planned.
Yeah,
but yeah, day 44, haven't missed a workout. So, you know, there's something about committing to something, but I'm also tracking it via an app. So like I'd have to reset my counter back to 0 if I fuck up, which not
you don't want to do.
No, but I'm trying to find the same thing. Like it's about sort of compartmentalizing the various aspects of your life and dedicating time for it. And I'm still struggling to find time to get it all done in a day, which I think is just natural for people in situations like ours. But like, would you find my wife and I very much addicted to chaos? I think is probably the best way to put it. I don't like sitting still.
No, I don't. I warned Amanda when we first started. Like, I was in the infantry.
Yeah.
I was literally raised in chaos. I was raised in zero structure besides like what we had at the base. Our housing would change. Our mission setting would change. Everything fucking changes. Your leaders change. Your team changes. Like I thrive in that environment. We get designed to thrive in that environment because that's just how you have to do that role. And I think that's why I've segued into training and weightlifting and CrossFit coaching and Olympic weightlifting coaching, because all those things, they're chaos. At the end of the day, like you've got to be adaptable. And it's one of my strongest points, I think, as a human is my adaptability to just adjust on the fly. And I like it. I don't like sitting still. I don't like doing the same thing over and over again. So yeah, 100%. I dig
I'm
chaos.
with you all the way there. I think we've seen in the last couple of years about the importance to remain flexible, whether it be in sort of, pursuits or even in like views, and adapting, like accepting new information and then sort of changing your perspective and rolling with it. But people get so attached to something, they sort of latch onto it as their personality, like I am this or I am that or we are they, and it's just, maybe you are for now, but it doesn't have to be that way for the rest of your life in the presence of new information or new. So it's not that I'm afraid of commitment by any means. I am fully committed, but that may not mean for the rest of my life. That may mean for the next 5 years before something else comes along. But being open to that, I think, is important.
100%. And like I mentor a lot of people. Like, God, I'm getting old, man. I have 3 kids. Three kids I started coaching when they were 15, and now they're sending me fucking wedding invites. Like, I'm getting old. It's rough. But like, I mentor people in my job. I enjoy it. I like seeing them grow as human beings. So you see opinions of things change rapidly from high school to college to real life. You see people that think they're one way, and then life happens, and all of a sudden they're on the other side of the fence. And like, a great example is this is like my dad. He's not going to watch this, so I don't give a fuck. My dad's a great person. My dad, he was a police officer. He was in the military. His dad worked for Ford, was a union guy, was a jarhead before that in the Marines. Like, we could comfortably say he was right wing, right? He was a little hard right wing with that type of background shit. But it was funny, when he had a daughter, he still remained right wing. But then when my sister basically became a woman, and her life started being affected by some things on the right, we kind of saw dad shift a little bit more to like needle in the middle type. And it's like, and I tell people all the time, it's like, you can have that opinion, but remember, there's people on the other side of the opinion. And when your life is going to change or something's going to happen to you, like, what are you going to do? You're just going to fucking dig your heels in the ground and make bad choices as a human being, because like you don't want to look back and be like, oh no, this is how I have to be. And like you were saying, like COVID, like we'll call it, like it was a lot of adaptability, especially in my business. Fucking gyms, dude. I saw gyms that had been around for 40 fucking years die in 1 year because they weren't able to be flexible to move to like online, programming and video review, and not going into the gym, and they were gone. 40 years history, and because they refused to adapt, they were gone. And it's rough, man. And that's like, this whole market is about adaptability.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to change much for at least the next couple of years. I mean, I think we're used to only one direction market action for the last decade or so.
We have been, right? This is the longest bull run in history.
Yeah.
Of the stock market. And crypto just rode it. So like, even like we were talking influencers, like it's cool to have 6 years of experience, but like I put on our Discord the other day, if you saw it, like one of my favorite guys that does a Discord, he's been in the market for like 5-6 years. He literally told our channel he's done. He's like, I don't know what the market's doing. I've never been less confident. And I feel bad giving you guys trades or giving my opinion on the market, because I don't know. I don't know what the fuck is going on right now. So I'm shutting the Discord down. I'll still be on Twitter, but like, I'm sorry. And I thought that was really big of them.
I respect that 100%.
But there's a lot of people that just think it's going to be the fucking stonks go up. It's like, we've already done it. We broke the number one thing, which is Bitcoin would never go lower than the previous market.
Right.
When we broke that, everyone should have fucking readjusted their charts and looked at shit a different way. You see me track like the futures market. You see me track the Dixie, stuff like that. It's like all that shit is now intertwined in this weird downward bouncy up and down spiral right now. And we've got to figure out each day, more or less, like what's the market going to do? Because it's not just going up anymore.
Well, and I think one of the things that you do well, that I've seen, is sort of your holistic approach to the markets, be it the dollar index or inflation or, you know, any sort of macroeconomic thing, because it is all tied, right? It's either directly correlated or inversely correlated. And it's you can't look at crypto or any asset class separate from the rest of the general market. And I think until we see some sort of stabilization with interest rates or CPI or anything like that, really, realistically, we're not going to see any sort of, you know, we saw some positive price action in BTC the last, you know, what is it, week and a half now, where we've run up to 21-ish. I don't know what it's doing now. Probably everybody's lining up shorts. But
I posted a picture of actually like the shorts to long ratio the other day, and everyone's short again. Except
if everyone's short now, I guarantee we're going to hit 25 and then fucking dump it or something to that, you know?
That's why I put on longs.
Yeah.
That's why I put on a long. I was like, fuck it, let's see.
Yeah, but I mean, Canada just printed a lower CPI, I think this week's for the first time. And I think the US, I can't remember exactly the number, but I think it was 2 months in a row now. Okay, so that, you know, things are coming down. Inflation's still fucking nuts. Like I think the number in Canada was 6.1, which is still not a number we can sustain, but at least now we're heading in the right direction. And maybe we see that stabilization in 23, and then we can move into 24 with a little bit more economic confidence. Yeah. It's just... I don't want to get back to the printing, right? Like that's, you know, it's okay. Hey, we solved the problem, and then they just go right back to creating the problem again. So it's like, are we really going to go through this boom bust like printing cycle?
Well, Japan is doing that. I don't know if you saw, but Japan,
they've been doing it for 12 years.
Well, they just bought $58 billion worth of bonds or something, and everyone's just like, that just means they printed money to buy the bonds.
Of course,
it's like. It's just going to get worse like over there, which is going to affect our dollar. And it's like the market is so intertwined now that it won't be like if you look at history, I'm a big history guy. It won't be like the US market is booming while the rest of the world is failing. It's not. It's going to all go down or it's all going to go up. It's just I think how intertwined we are now.
Canada's pretty close to the US in terms they're pretty well linked, but I think what we didn't look at was what was happening overseas because of the US dollar. You were basically exporting your inflation, right? You're printing money and sending it overseas. So you see food prices in Australia and house prices go through the roof like 3 years ago. And then now it's just sort of come home to roost, and we as North Americans are finally feeling the effects of everything that people have been feeling for a while. So I mean, it doesn't help that there's wars and there's shortages and all of that stuff as well. But, you know, there's no easy way out of this, right? Like it feels like we're in one of those tough times in history where although things aren't dire as they have been in, you know, historical terms, they're not booming like they were for the last 30, 40 years, right? Where we're going to deal with different challenges than our parents dealt with when it comes to the economy.
I think we're kind of on the cusp of when I look at things, I'm like, we're either in like post World War I kind of like 1920s craziness, and now we're writing it down. Not as bad, right? We don't get some psycho level stock market crash, or we're in like the 1960s, 70s era where like we see the gas shortages, we see the inflation, we see the effects, like you were just saying, of when we do this and we push off shit elsewhere. It comes back to bite us in the ass, and that's really like that 60s, 70s era, because then we kind of saw some stability in the 80s, and then we saw it launch in the 90s. So like I kind of look at those comparisons in the past to be like, what are we predicting? Because again, like I said, my investment plan is 10, 20 years, so that way my son has money, or whatever the conduit is of monetary exchange, he's set up for success. You know, if he needs it. So it's like. Like we said, we're not going to shill anything on this show, but like, I just like, there's some things where I just think we're going to head there, and like paying attention to digital currency as a normalcy, like, you know, the CDC, like the CDC, stuff like that, like CBDC, sorry, whatever the
central bank digital currencies.
Yeah. CBDC, like those, I just don't see how they aren't going to be a thing in some countries. And then like, the big ones like the Bitcoins, the ETHs, like I don't see how those aren't going to be around. I can't find the narrative that convinces me they're going to go away. But then again, like everyone thought fucking AOL was going to be the only internet we had. So you got to be flexible.
I was on a Twitter Spaces last week, and I talked about this a bit because I think the idea that we got it right the first time is probably not the case. And I'm
well,
this
it was
is
aliens, remember? Satoshi's an alien, so that's why. That's why we got it right.
Yeah, and he hasn't moved anything because he's the world's biggest hodler, or he lost his private keys. We're not sure. Yeah, but I mean, why would we assume, based on any sort of boom in any industry over the last 100 years, that the first 10 things are the 10 things that are going to carry us through into the future, right? And I'm not knocking any coin in the top 10. I'm just thinking people have to be open-minded about what they're looking at and realize that you can improve upon the technology that we have, and people are. And if one of those gains any traction at all, it very quickly could replace what we set out to do. And I think now we've seen enough branching in terms of sort of use case of various blockchains that there will be multiple winners. And I don't think like BTC is going to be the transactional thing that it initially sought out to be, right? Because there's so many better options for payment transactions. But now the narrative switched to this sort of digital gold. Well, I think it could probably hold a place as a digital gold indefinitely. I don't really see a reason for it to not be that. But then you got to look at smart contracts, which is sort of the next thing. And it's like, okay, now ETH has the lion's share of the market, but ETH gas prices, even after the merge, are still jacked anytime the market goes crazy. People shouldn't have to spend $15, $20, even $30 on a transaction if they're trying to move $100. Like, that's outrageous, right? So, okay, Polygon, Polygon's a penny to move a transaction, but it's hard to get to from your main trend. So it's going to take some adoption, it's going to take some innovation, and it's going to take some connectivity to bring it all together. But I don't think we have a clear picture on where we're all headed. I don't think anyone should be betting all in on one thing as I'm a maxi of this because it's better than everything else. Meanwhile, they're completely unaware of the development happening over here, which is 10 times better than what they're invested in over here, right?
For sure, yeah. I think the only thing I would ever tell someone is, like, if you want to not be invested in a crypto, but you want to make money like cryptos, like when whatever country decides to do their CBDCs and then is like, and we'll give you 15% API. It's like, yes, go put all your fucking money in that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's backed by their government. It's probably not going to crash. Like if the US was like, hey, we like banks, but we're going to start this new CBDC thing, and it's going to be digital dollars, and we're going to give you 10%. I'd be like, yeah, fucking take my money, because it's backed by the US government. Like,
I think we're seeing that with bond action right now being 4 or 5% in U.S. Treasuries, right? So you see money flowing out of stocks, hence the decline, and they're just parking it in safe assets like U.S. bonds.
Yep. Yeah, no, 100%. I agree.
Let's park it there for now, but I'd love to have you back and pick up the conversation again, and we can go deeper on this. But time just flew by, so just want to say thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This was a lot of fun, man. I appreciate it. It's been fun getting to know you and getting to see all the things, and just all of us, like we were saying, our little squad just kind of grow and mature throughout the years.
Absolutely, and that's what we should all be striving for. We should all aim to be a little bit better than we were yesterday. But
exactly. What's
your Twitter for those that may want to give you a follow?
Twitter is White Falcon Crypto 325.
Don't even know your own handle.
Yeah, I rarely post on my Twitter, but I do a lot. If you're interested in weightlifting, he's got my IG, and I do that stuff. But
yeah, I'll throw all those links in the show notes. So if you're curious about anything that Matt's been doing, then check him out, please.
I'm all about supporting people that support me. So definitely look up the ICT model stuff. Definitely look up the Twitter handles I give him. Those guys are super smart. They've helped me a lot.
Cool. Yeah, I'll include all of those. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and thanks Matt for coming on, man. Take it easy.
Absolutely. Thanks, dude.
That's it for today, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thanks Coach Matt for coming on and telling us your story. Appreciated the education on things like fair value gaps, and also the names of a couple traders that you think are putting out great content for a reasonable fee. I will make sure to include both your socials as well as links to some of those things in the show notes below, so please make sure you take a look. If I could also ask that you please subscribe to the YouTube channel, you've liked this video, and you've left me a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app, it would go a long way to help growing this show and growing the Rad fam. So thanks in advance for doing that. With that, I'll see you in 7 days where we do it all again. But until then, keep it rad. Later, fam. The Rad DAO podcast is produced for entertainment and education purposes only. I know this because I'm not a licensed financial advisor. If you're thinking of investing in any of the tokens talked about during this episode, then I implore you to please do your own due diligence and, if necessary, consult with a licensed financial advisor.